Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy. This is the Protech Magic. First off, I want to thank my buddy over at Indiana Knives for hooking me up on this guy. I appreciate it very much. Small dealer over in Bloomington. Love to support small business, so thank you there. Next thing, size comparison. Let's do this up against the Spyderco Delica right here. This guy is the steel wheel cut jack in 3-inch size and the Ontario Rat number 2. So you can see this isn't exactly this is exactly a 3-inch blade. So it's a nice smaller size, which I appreciate very much. And so there's your size comparison. Next thing, the name of this guy. This is either referred to as the Protech Magic or the Protech Whiskers, depending on who you want to talk to about it. But it's because it was designed by Mike Whiskers Allen, with the scare quotes, Whiskers. And so that is his design, and so that's why it's sometimes called the Whiskers. And then finally, this guy is an automatic knife. What that means is that rather than pressing something on the blade, instead here you move this piece of the liner here, and the knife deploys automatically using a spring. That makes it illegal in a bunch of places. In fact, this knife would have been illegal in the state of Michigan up until about October 10th of this year, when they passed some legislation to repeal that particular bit of stupid fear-based lawmaking. But check your local legalities before you place an order for one of these guys, because it could be a felony just to own this guy where you live, which is really stupid. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of your little Protech Whiskers here. Okay, so first off on the good side, this guy is made in the USA, something I always appreciate. Protech is a small company, and so like supporting them. Next thing, this has a full aluminum handle. The entire handle here is some sort of an anodized aluminum sort of surface, and so it's pretty solid. In fact, the whole thing feels very, very solid, which is something I appreciate very, very much. Next thing, the blade on this guy is absolutely good to go. The steel on it is 154 cm, which is a solid steel. No complaints about it there. And it is in a very nice shape. You got some flat area down here. You got some belly up here. The grind on it is reasonably thin. It goes down to a reasonably thin little bit down there at the edge. Could be a little bit thinner, but you know what? Hey, it works out. And, you know, overall, I like this blade a lot. This is a nice blade, coupled with this little swedge here, which I think is very attractive. This is a nice blade for everyday use. Carrying this, never really felt any kind of complaints about it. So that's excellent. Next thing, this is using a very ergonomic handle for the most part. There is one hot spot. Spoiler alert, it's that clip. But for the most part, this is a very nicely ergonomic handle. It fits my hand well. It kind of locks into place, and I have no complaints with this handle at all. And the knife in my hand here is not going anywhere. And so I appreciate that very, very much. Next thing, this guy, even though the clip is an ergonomic hotspot, it is a really nice pocket clip. It is nice and long here, with a very nice amount of spring tension. It's got a nice big ramp on it, and it's a very deep carry clip, which means that this guy in your pocket is absolutely very, very subtle. Absolutely, this clip will scratch up over time as you carry it more and use it more. In fact, this whole handle finish will scratch up over time as you use it and carry it more, but the clip is great and made this very, very easy and pleasant to carry. Next thing, speaking of easy and pleasant, this knife is very easy and pleasant to take down and maintain. Some automatic knives are a little bit crazy. This one wasn't. I mean, at the core, it is basically just a back lock. And the fact that you're able to take this guy apart by removing this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw, and then popping the pivot out is just so freaking nice. I mean, that disassembly was way easier than I thought it was going to be, and that was something I appreciated very much, although you do void the warranty. Trust and believe, we'll come back to that one later. Next thing, they do offer some custom versions of this little guy. Both, you know, a couple of variations, but they also offer like full customs with like Damascus blades and things like that that are much fancier. They're very, very expensive, but it's kind of neat that they're doing that they're taking production models and they're making these heavily customized versions for people who love a model but really want to jump it up a level. It's kind of like Benchmade's Gold Class, except these are just way more nicely done. Handled a couple at Blade Show at Protech's booth, and it was like, wow, that was well done. So I appreciate the fact that they're doing that they're offering really nicely made, high-end material versions of this production design. Then finally, I love the fact that even though this is an automatic knife, it is very, very easy to open subtly. The problem with like an out-the-front automatic where it does the stick-snicks thing is that you cannot deploy one of those subtly. Whereas with this guy, all you need to do to deploy it subtly is to just put your finger here, like you're pulling it out of the thing, and then you just disengage the lock, and guess what? You can pull the blade out there. Nobody is the wiser. It's just like, oh, I opened my knife. Nobody thinks twice about it. It's quiet, it's subtle, it's easy. Or if you want, you can deploy it automatically loud and proud, although it's actually not all that loud anyways. But I appreciate the discretion that this offers me. This is an automatic knife, which I can use as an automatic knife and have a blade in my hand in just a moment. But it's also an automatic knife that I can open in such a way that the fact that it's automatic is my little secret. And it makes it really, really easy to do that. So that discretion, the fact this is an auto that doesn't need to be an auto all the time, so to speak, is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I appreciate that very, very much. And it just makes this guy a lot more carryable in a lot more situations. So to me, at least, that's what's good. It's very easily to stealthily open. They offer those really high-end custom versions. It's easy to disassemble and maintain and void the warranty. It has a very great clip. It has a good, mostly ergonomic handle, except for that clip. The blade on it is very, very nice and is good to go for everyday carry. Has a full aluminum handle, and it is made in the US of A. Let's talk about what's great here. To me, what is 100% great about this knife, and you should absolutely watch the disassembly video because it'll show you just how easy this is, but is this opening mechanism. Because to start, it's kind of a little bit of a puzzle. If you just hand this to somebody, even a knife person, they will often look at it like, well, how the heck do you open it? You can't, there's not enough here to pull on it. And I think that's smart of them, by the way, to include this swedge so that you can't do that. But once you know the trick, namely that this little part here just needs to slide upwards. And see here, it rotates out of the way, and that disengages the back lock here, because this is just a back lock knife, then it deploys very, very easily. So although it's you can't quite figure it out at first, it is very, very, very easy to use. And you can open this guy one-handed very easily, and you can also close this guy one-handed very easily. You just pop this guy up, use your index finger to push this guy, hold the blade down, and then use your thumb to put it the rest of the way in. That makes this just so damned easy to use, both on the open and on the close. And that's one of the things that is often a problem with automatic knives, is that they're very easy to pop open, but they're a little bit harder to close up, at least with the sideways automatics. The out the fronts are very easy to do both one-handed. But anyways, so it's a super easy to lose system. But the thing that is most impressive to me and that I love most about this is that this is fundamentally just a backlock. I mean, inside this, it is just a backlock. And backlocks are one of the strongest locking mechanisms around. They're very simple. They're very easy. It's super reliable. And they've added here a very neat little trick in the deployment option that adds almost no complexity in point of failure. It's just a backlock, except the lock bar has this little thing attached to it. And so doing this in such a way that it is so not complicated, making a hidden release flipper system, which is just a backlock with a spring in there to deploy the blade, is so freaking nice. This is something, I mean, doing something this complicated, this simply is kind of a genius move. And I hope that they use this mechanism more in the future, maybe with a smaller California legal version, maybe something a little bit bigger. But this idea of the automatic backlock is absolutely spectacular, and I love seeing it this way. So, to me, that is absolutely the great of this knife, is this magic opening mechanism. Let's talk about the bad here. So on the bad side, first off, legally speaking, automatics are just way more problematic. Because your city, your state, your country may ban these guys altogether. It's possible that if you have this guy in your pocket and you drive down to the next state, suddenly you're breaking the law, you're committing a felony. And frankly, you're just more likely to have trouble with these. There are a lot of people where even if they are legal, they're a little bit more scared of it. This guy, like I said, minimizes that, giving you the ability to very easily pop it open and hold the blade as you do so, making it not appear like an automatic. But still, automatics are a big pain in the neck, legally speaking, and it's something you have to worry about, whereas with most knives, you just don't have to worry about it. And so I appreciate the fact that, I don't appreciate the fact that automatics are treated that way. That's a problem with the country, though, not so much with the knife. Next thing, the blade stock on this guy does feel a little bit thick. I mean, seriously, if we compare this to another backlock knife, the Spyderco, they absolutely could have gone thinner, and by going thinner, they would have ended up with a slightly better slicer and whatnot. That's something I'm not particularly in love with. I really do wish that they had done a thicker blade stock here. This is not needing to be a beta knife, and a backlock doesn't require thicker stock, so why not make this guy a little bit slicier? It's already aiming sort of at the gentleman's market, I think, so why the thickness, guys? Why the thickness? Next thing, the price on this guy is up there. It's $190. Is that a bad price? No, not particularly. Do I think you should pay it? Yeah, probably if you like the design, but there is absolutely kind of an automatic knife surcharge. I feel like if this knife were not an automatic, you would not be paying anywhere near this, so that is a very expensive spring in there. It's also a small company, whatever, but the price is high. We got to be real about that. Next thing, okay, Protech, really, what's up with this? Why are we writing this on the back of the knife in bright white font? Why does this need to be there at all? Serializing knives is great, but the thing is you can serialize the knife right on the inside here. You can serialize the knife on the blade here. You just run number 554, something like that. But putting this in big white type on the side of the knife, just no. Why are you doing this? No. So that's not great. Next thing, speaking of not great coming from Protech, when this guy came out of the box, it actually did have a little bit of side-to-side blade play. All that I needed to do was to loosen these two screws and then tighten the pivot very slightly, using a little bit of Loctite to hold it in place. But that wasn't great. And it was a little bit like, well, why are you shipping it this way? That shouldn't come from the factory with any blade play. They could have tuned this, and I very easily did within like 2 minutes. Why didn't they take care of that? Especially if you're going to have a warranty that voids with disassembly, you have to send them out perfect. And so that bugs me a fair amount, actually. Next thing, as I mentioned, the clip on this guy is absolutely a hot spot here, which is not super pleasant, especially this part right here. And so that is a rare ergonomic fail, although the clip is so damn good that I'm almost willing to let it happen. But yeah. Next thing. This is a little tiny detail, but this guy, you can see here that this, when you pull the little, when you pull the magic panel, I don't know, that's the term, whatever it is, when you pull that back, it opens up this little gap here. When you pull it down, when you let it back down, this, if you're grabbing in the wrong position, particularly if you're trying to deploy the knife and you have your thumb right in this position, it can pop open, and then when you close, it will grab the little flesh of your thumb down there in this little gap when it closes. Is this a big deal? No, not particularly, but it is something that's caught me a couple of times like, oh, you little bastard. May not be a way to deal with it otherwise, but, you know, it's something to keep in mind. Next thing, this is a knife that this magic mechanism does rely on having friction. You need to be able to push your finger up against it. Certainly you can push directly down against this, which uses less friction, but certainly on this front, if you have sweaty hands or oily hands or in a lubricated condition, this becomes less useful. It's much harder to deploy safely and to close up safely as a result of that. That's the case with any sprung knife, but particularly this one, which relies more on friction. This is a great knife for an unlubricated office environment, but it's not so great otherwise, which is weird because the handle itself is this very chalky texturing sort of thing. This is very similar to the feeling you get on like the Benchmade 940. It's that anodized aluminum with that kind of chalky rough texture. Personally, I hate that feeling. It bothers me as a material choice. There's nothing wrong with it functionally speaking, but I just don't like the feeling of it on my hands. The chalky aluminum thing drives me a little bit crazy, and that's something that I'd like to see them not do, or I'd like to have an option to do something otherwise. But unfortunately, although I mentioned they have a variety of options available, the variety isn't all that much. I'd love to see this knife with all kinds of different things, but right now the options are mostly where you'd like your black aluminum and what you'd like on it. Because, they're sitting on a very nice, smaller gentleman's knife, but forgetting that this aluminum is not the best choice for everybody. You can get things like a single micarta inlay on this side here, but the thing is the other side is still just black chalky aluminum. They have a gray chalky aluminum option as well, but I'd like to see a little bit more variety there, and I'd like to see them step a little further outside the box, outside of those really high-end custom pieces. This texture doesn't thrill me, and the fact that I can't escape it anywhere in their lineup, not so great to me. And so that's the bad to me, is that although they have a variety of them, it's mostly a question of where the black aluminum goes. The black aluminum doesn't do it for me. This is a knife that is not going to benefit from lubrication on your hands because it'll be hard to open and close. The clip is hot spotty. It can pinch you a little bit if you grab it in the wrong place, so don't grab it in the wrong place. The writing on the back is just ugly, as is the fact that they ship this with a little bit of blade play. Price is up there, blade stock's a little thick, and legally speaking, automatics are just kind of a world of hurt. Let's talk about the ugly here. So the ugly side of this guy is Protech's warranty. On their website, in big bold font, they say, do not disassemble your knife. It will void the warranty. Like, quite literally, there is capitalization there. I get it, to an extent. I mean, Protech mostly makes automatic knives, and they don't want to be responsible for people taking apart knives that are sprung. You need to do it in a somewhat intelligent way. Watch my disassembly to see, well, A way that didn't kill me, let's put it that way. But the thing is, that is still a really ugly policy, especially when I had to tweak this guy's tweak this guy's pivot to eliminate blade play out of the box. So I would much prefer that they move to something more permissive, like damage or defects caused by improper service and disassembly is not covered by the warranty. In that case, we are A-okay, because if I break it disassembling it, guess what? That's my problem. But just voiding the warranty on the basis that I ever serviced my knife, ugly. And so Protech, work on your warranty. That's a problem. So let's jump into the final conclusion. So, final conclusion here. Honestly, this is my favorite automatic knife ever. And I say that for a bunch of reasons. I love the size of it. The fact that it's 3 inches makes it legal in a lot more places, even though automatics are generally illegal in a lot of places. It's very nice in the pocket with this nice big clip, this smooth back on it here. It's a very good cutting tool with a blade that absolutely cuts up a storm if you need it to, and a solid steel. It is discreet enough to carry at the office. This is not the, Mall Ninja. It's not, snick, 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 snick. This is a very, very nice knife that you can open and people won't even think twice about it, or you can use it as an automatic and have that convenience of having a blade almost instantly out in your hand. And the opening mechanism is honestly genius. It's a backlock fundamentally, just with an odd approach to the lock bar, and that's just excellent. But that said, this is not a knife that's for everybody. I mean, it's not going to be a knife for oil fields. It's probably not a knife for the job site either. If you don't need that discretion, or if you don't want that little bit of joy of, I know how to work my knife and you don't, then this probably isn't for you. And of course, even if it is for you, there are some things they can work on here. The warranty needs work. Come on, Protech. The price is a little bit high. I don't love this handle finish. The clip is absolutely a hot spot, even being a great clip. And I just love to have this in some flavor that is not this chalky aluminum texture. But the thing is, I really, really, really like this knife. It has the advantages of an automatic knife, namely that you can deploy it automatically without any problem, but without the disadvantages. It's so easy to use this discreetly. It doesn't look like, oh my god, Switchblade. It is just really, really great, and it still manages, despite having an interesting new take on automatic knife deployment, maybe not new, but an interesting take on automatic knife deployment, it still manages to feel like a simple thing done well. And as such, this is an automatic knife that I really, really like, and that I'm keeping an eye out on Protech's website to see if they drop a version that's going to be a little bit more interesting to me still. But even so, I like this guy a lot. And so, this is a great little automatic knife with all of the benefits of an automatic, but with none of the real disadvantages of it. And so, as a result, I have zero trouble calling the Protech Magic a very magical little gem. This is a great knife. I highly recommend it if you're trying an automatic and you want something a little bit more discreet, and frankly, if you just want something kind of fun. So there you go. That's the Protech Magic. Hope this has been interesting to you, and that you have yourselves an absolutely magical rest of your day. Bye now.